All right, we're recording. So tonight we are starting Bash Linux. So we are doing Linux shell scripting, and you'll see that I have the deliverables listed out here. I don't expect you to read every single thing in here for this week, like this one right here, the Linux command line and shell scripting Bible. This is a supplementary text. It is a good idea for you guys to get in there and read if you're having some problems with some of the materials. These top three cover what we're going over this week, and these are both PDFs available in your course documents under Bash Linux resources. You'll see those right there on the top. You'll see I've also thrown in a couple of PDF cheat sheets. This one's a link if you want to learn more about Whiptail. And then we're going to be going through the W3 Bash shell scripting tutorials together. And I have a link there. And I have a link here as well. Now, you guys seem to really like the supplemental videos. And I found a guy that did some pretty decent supplemental videos. So I went ahead and found some of those for you guys. They are listed here. This week, we're going to have you guys, instead of doing install a tool, and that's what you need to do. You don't really need to install anything for this. All of you have access to some form of a Linux operating system, Ubuntu, Kali. I don't suggest Kane because it is, as aforementioned, kind of a pain in the butt. So you don't really need anything special. So what we're going to do for the deliverable this week is what's called a bash menu. Now, I found literally a video that goes through the basics of everything that you need to do. So what I want from you is you're creating a menu-driven shell script, and it has to have 6 items. Basically, that's just if you create something, it has to have 6 different options. And I'm not saying you have to create 6 different menus. If you create a menu with 6 different options, on this video, we'll watch it together tomorrow. He uses a yes-no type loop and talks through all that. But I want to go through some more of the basics before we do that, not tomorrow, but on Thursday. So if you want to go above and beyond, Glenn, you are more than welcome to. I think we all know Gwen's probably going to be getting the A that I have to take out of the curve on this class anyway. Okay, so we are going to look at the, this is just kind of the easiest chewing gum and walk at the same time type tutorials. So I thought we would walk through these together. So the basic Bash tutorials for exploring Bash shell scripting here on W3, which, as I said, I've got linked out in 2 different places, are here. This provides tutorials on Bash commands with programming examples, covers Bash and shell programming features, including variables, loops, conditional expressions, and operators. And we'll go through those and talk about them. It's a command line interpreter, and it is an application to provide commands to different operating systems like Linux, Unix, and Mac. It's an enhanced version of shell, and it's a layer between user and operating system function calls. The user types commands in via command line or batch of commands called scripts. A lot of times these are used to create little mini menus or create scripts to run a whole batch of things at the same time. It's used to create something to simplify whatever it is that you're going to be doing at the time. So you have to have your basic understanding of some form of Linux and programming languages of some sort, which we have gone through. So Bash short for Born Again Shell. This is an open source command line shell interpreter, and I'm sure there are probably some Born Ultimatum and Born movie jokes that can go in there. It's an interpreter and a scripting language. Interprets user-entered commands either interactively or from script files. It serves as an interface to call commands, enabling system function calls. And there are two types of bash modes, interactive and non-interactive. Interactive is also called a command interpreter. And this allows the execution of commands in the terminal. It executes commands sequentially if there are multiple commands. Non-interactive mode, this is your scripts, which this is where a lot of your automation comes from. This allows you to write bash syntax that contains your sequence of multiple commands for script execution. So what's the difference between bash and shell? Shell is an alias for Bourne shell and is a command line interpreter for Unix and Linux OS. Bash is an alias for Born Again shell, which is just the enhanced version. And please, if you have a question, like always, stop me. What is bash scripting used for? It has multiple use cases, including writing scripts for automated programming tasks, synchronizing tasks to copy files, executing cron jobs for scheduling. What I have seen this used for the most is automation. And Zach, you'll have to tell me, what have you seen this used for the most? Because I know you use Linux a lot, so you've probably seen this. I probably caught him unaware.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
So do you see this for, yeah, I can hear you. Do you see this used like for automation mostly on your side?
For cron jobs?
Cron jobs?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you can set like any schedule, like every day, every month, every week, whatever, or even every so many hours. I actually have a cron job. I use that for backing up data, certain data to like another drive. That's what I use it for.
Cool. So see, there you go.
Yep.
So how do we write code in bash? So to write a code in bash script, you do the following. You have to do it in a terminal, and then you create a file using the vi test.sh. And you see that bin bash at the top of the file. Add your shell code snippets, and you have to make sure you save it with the .sh extension, and then execute the shell script using the .test.sh command in the terminal. I would suggest when you're creating these that you create, a lot of times people, when they create them, they have a folder of finished scripts, and then they'll have a folder of test scripts, or they'll even, put multiple ones in there. I always have at least one folder for my tests so that I don't mix them up. So is bash considered a coding language? Bash executes commands from the terminal or a file. It's a programming language that operates in Unix and Linux kernel operating system, containing all the features to write complete code. It's a special type of shell that takes input from commands, runs the code, and processes the input, returning results. So there are different shell types. It says there are different types of shells in a Unix OS. So there's SH, bash, and C shell. SH is your Bourne shell. And then the first line, you just need to see that bin SH. Bash, Born Again shell, that's your bin bash. And CS or C shell, C space shell. And that one's your bin CSH. So each flavor Oh, poor Josh. Oh, well, that's rough. Yeah, let's all hope that Josh's work emergency doesn't turn into a hair tearing exercise, because that does not sound fun. So good luck, Josh, when you watch the rest of the video. I hope everything goes well. Difference between command line and script in Bash. You can see command line on top and scripts on the bottom. Command line has a prompt, which takes input from your user. They're not saved into a file, and it supports only one command at a time. Script files, that's where you put multiple commands in a single file. The prompt still can be written in the script file. Only one line in a file executes sequentially. Okay. We are going to go down to comments today, in the very least. And then we'll talk about some of the other stuff later on. Okay, Bash variables. So, variables form fundamental building blocks of any programming language. Shell and Bash script programming offer variables like other languages. The variables serve as a container used for storing data in programming. And this includes a pointer to the memory location of the data. You need to declare your variable. To create a variable, you have to assign a value to it. So you see that variable name equals variable value. This is the name of the variable that they have listed here, which can contain any combination of the alphabet or numbers and underscore. And then variable value, which can be anything, is the value stored in a variable, and it can be a string of numbers or Boolean. The equal symbol is used to assign a variable to a variable. So for example, if you're doing a problem and you say age is equal to 25, then the variable named age is created and assigned the value of 25. How to access variables in Bash. After declaring and assigning values to variables, you can access them using that $ symbol followed by the variable name. So you set your age equals to 25, and then if you echo it out, you say echo $age, it'll say 25. So the above code declares it with the value 25, and then you use echo to display whatever that value that you assigned it to with that $, and then it'll print up. It'll show you that 25. Bash shell read-only variables. Once variables are assigned values, you can change them to new values using the assignment operator, which is the equal sign. So you can see this one right here. This means that in this one above here, it's 25, and then they change it to 35. How do you make variables not updatable? You can throw in the read-only keyword, and that prevents a variable from being updated, effectively turning it into a constant. So you say read-only on it, and you can only read that information. Yeah, literally anything. When we watch the one tutorial, the guy has a very amusing, he uses this silly thing like, do you like candy, yes or no? And it's just very silly, but it shows the idea. On this, okay, so age is a constraint. Assigning new values throws an error, and the error message is age is read only. So if you try to change it, it'll say, no, you got a problem. This is read only, can't do anything to it. You can do what's called an unset variable. The unset keyword assists in removing the value from the specified variable. the variable remains accessible but prints an empty value. And you can see that here. And then you can echo out and it says empty. So in the above code, first sets the variable age to 25 and prints its value. Then it unsets it using unset age. Subsequently, it prints the quotes empty, followed by the value of age, which now appears as an empty space. Don't feel too upset if you don't catch all of this right now. This is one of those, go back and watch the video again and go back and look at this again. We're not going to get super detailed on all of it for this week. I just want you guys to get your toes wet and all of us kind of understand a little bit about this because we've already been using this a little bit when we've done some of the things that we've done in Kali Linux. Yeah, when I saw that, do you like candy? I was like, why would you? That's just, I think he was saying that just to be sarcastic, but yeah, it was a little bit odd. Variable scopes. So every declared variable must have a scope defining where in the program the variable can be used. For instance, if a variable is declared within a function, it is available only within that function and is not accessible outside of it. So variable scopes in Bash can be defined as global or local variables. So what's the difference? Global variables are variables declared in shell script that are referred to as global variables. That's cyclic. Global variables can be accessed within a function or any nested blocks of a shell script file. The default variable declared in a script file is called a global variable. So there's an example right here. And then they show the output. So what is a Bash local variable? These are declared inside a block of code or function, and the scope of these variables are only visible in that block. So the other ones are available outside and within the function or any nested block, whereas this one is only within that specific block where it is declared. So you can see here they have oh, pardon me. You see the 4040 and the local, you see, okay, we have local and then we have the global. So the local age is set in those brackets right there. And then the global is the one that's set outside of it. So it's only declared inside a function and only available and visible inside of that function. Variables declared outside of the function are called global and are available for all functions. So does that make sense to you guys? Local, only inside that one, global, available to everything else. That's the takeaway here. Does that make sense? Everyone but Gwen? Okay, there we go. Gwen, have you done Bash before? Nope, okay. So this will be some new learning for you then. Variable typing. Bash scripting is not a typed language. However, you can declare a variable with a type of data using the declare command based on the type of variable, and it allows the type of data. So this one, declare options, variable name equals valuable or value. Variable is declared and assigned with a value. Options contain option to create a type of variable. An array to create an array variable. And then you see down here the different variable types. We have array, associated array, integers, read only, and then export. You can see the syntax for those here, and then the descriptions of what they actually are here. This is why there are cheat sheets for you guys, because I don't expect you to remember all of this. Display environment variables in Bash. There are two types of commands for printing an environment variable. There's print env or the env command. Both of the commands list all the environment variables of the terminal. I usually go with whatever's shorter, but that's just me personally. Variable naming conventions. They are read by prefixing with that $ symbol. Variable names are composed of alphabet numbers or an underscore. They're case sensitive. For example, test and test are considered two different variables when you're talking about those in scripting. While variable names are conventionally written in uppercase, you can create them using upper or lowercase if needed. And environment and shell variables are both in uppercase. Variable names cannot contain spaces. That's why they talk about using the underscores. Names conventionally should be camel case. So you'll see that they're lowercase and then one.
Just making sure I'm remembering right, but Linux and PowerShell in general, everything is case sensitive, right?
Not everything, but most everything is case sensitive.
Because I remember Windows, can't remember what program.
There is some stuff in Windows command line that is not case sensitive. You are correct.
Yeah.
But yeah, PowerShell and Bash do have case sensitivity. Then there are different shell variables. These are variables set by shell, not by the user, and these are required by shell to work smoothly. So there's PWD, which is your current working directory, set location, change the working directory to a new directory. You'll see these in your cheat sheets too. Rename item, that's your rename the file. IFS, internal field separator by default is a space set by shell used for a string split. Path contains semicolon, separated path of commands configured to lookup for commands. UID prints the user identification number, and then home shows your home directory of the current user. Okay. You guys need a second before we go into loop file? All right. So loop files are pretty similar to what we've done. This is how to loop contents of a file in scripting and programming. Sometimes you want to read the file content in your programming, and there are multiple ways you can do it. You can use what's called a while loop. It's one of those while this, do this, and then you tell it what to do when it's done. So that's what this is doing here. Yeah, I figured, Gwen, you'd like this one. While loops are pretty easy in Bash. So this is literally a simple while loop. Okay, next, and we're going to stop on comments, because I think any more than that, with all this information, brains will explode. As it is, I think it's quite a lot. So in this one, we'll talk about writing comments in Bash shell scripts with some examples. These are code statements containing user-read text that the shell skips during execution. Every programming language has those. We've talked about them before. Or descriptions of lines of codes or a statement. Inline comments within the code assist developers in editing and better understanding the code. Bash scripting allows you to use following comment types. There's a single comment or a multi-line comment, and it's very useful. We've talked about, in fact, several of you used it on your assignments, and I'm very, very appreciative for that. It's throwing in a little comment of, if you have a multi-person project, this person did this section, this person did that section, commenting out a section of code that's not being used currently or didn't quite work the way that you wanted it to. creating a section of code that you might want to use in the future, things like that. So single line comments in Bash, these are denoted with the hash symbol at the beginning of each line. The comments include strings providing information about the corresponding line of code in shell script. It's essential to place single line comments on a separate line for clarity. For inline comments, use that hash symbol at the beginning of the comment. Single line comments always start with that. So you'll see right there. You put a blank space after the symbol if you want to. It's not required. It's more for readability. And you can see right there. Multi-line comments is showing here. This involves using more than one line for comments. The first way to create multi-line comments is using single line comments with each line starting like this, and that's literally just putting several lines like that. And the second way to create a multi-line comment is enclosing multiple lines with your colon and apostrophe. And this involves with the comments starting with a colon and then followed by your apostrophe. It's followed by multiple lines of comments, and it concludes with your apostrophe. So you see it here. It starts with this colon. You'll see apostrophe, and then you have line, 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 and then apostrophe. And then you can see right there. So as you can see, it's a little bit different syntax for this, but I like to do multi-line comments unless like this, rather than having to do this on every line, because sometimes you'll forget to throw it on that middle line and you'll end up erroring out and then go, what the heck did I do wrong? And it will, and your eyes will skip right over that thinking, oh, that's a comment. And, you know, it's just easier, in my opinion, to do something like that. So that's useful for your text spanning multiple lines. And that's how you do your multi-line and single line comments. Okay, now that I've broken people, let me go back here and I'll show you guys some of the stuff that you can go through. So the mastering shell Linux, excuse me, nice thing about this is it has a very nice everything broken out table of contents. So it will tell you exactly how to do them. And then like I said, you can just go right through like we did, and it gives you more in-depth examples. And then there's this one. This one's an EPUB file. So you'll need an EPUB reader. Or you can download it on your phone and use an EPUB reader, whatever works best for you. There's some cheat sheets. This one's a link out to Dev Hints. I liked this one because it's a nice big scrolling one that you guys can go look, because they push everything out into these nice little chunks, which I really like. So you see some basics, and then you can scroll down here and here's a whole bunch of stuff on conditions and arrays. So this one is a nice big hint one. Then there is this one. This one is by Free World, I think. Yeah, and this one's a couple pages, but it's just a PDF. So you'll see things like the MKDIR and things like that. So it's nice and basic here. And then there's also, this one is for Whiptail. And Whiptail is one that they had a project that you could do in Whiptail, but it requires, I didn't want to throw multiple projects at this for you guys, but I thought you guys might be interested in some of the information from it. So this is the Whiptail Man page, if you guys are interested in more information about that. And then the Bash shell scripting tutorials that we went through. Yeah, the penguin looks familiar. And then this guy has some very nice, this one's just a very simple intro. And sometimes, as we've learned with programming languages, just having someone say the same thing in a slightly different way is a good way to drill things in. And I've watched multiple videos by multiple presenters. If you look over here, you'll see Bash scripting on Linux. He's got a huge playlist on here. I'm just linking the individual videos, but if you want to see the whole thing, there is a nice big playlist out there for you guys as well. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen there. Oh, I didn't even see what I had listed on my top 20. Oh yeah, that's because I'm a sci-fi fantasy movie person, and then I also really like the things that make fun of, like, I don't know if you guys have seen the pitch meeting ones, but they're hilarious. I enjoy stuff that makes fun of that. So, but yeah, that's it for our lecture portion for tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and then we'll talk about homework.